So I promised you a good story tonight, and I'm going to deliver. I had to make some treaties to make this happen, some discussions amongst some of those that are here, and we made an agreement that I'm going to be able to talk to you. So that's a good thing. I'm going to ask Pam, my Shkabewish there, if she will light the smudge that's in front of her. We're going to start off with lighting one of our 4 sacred medicines, which is sage. There's that darn timer there again in front of me. I'm not paying attention to it. The treaty was, I can have my time, so let's shut it off. Or you're breaking your treaty. The lights are really bright up here, so excuse me for going back and forth. So I'm going to get Pam to just take this up and down a couple aisles for you guys there to be able to cleanse yourself. This is one of our 4 sacred medicines. And maybe if you want to smudge, just put your hand up at a table so she can come to you, because not everybody might want to smudge, which is cleansing using this sacred medicine. And I know you guys are in a hurry to eat as well, so I didn't really want to make her take it around to every table, otherwise she'd never get to eat tonight. And then she'll never call me back again. So I want to give thanks tonight to everyone who spoke today and brought their brilliant ideas to us and shared what they know in a good way. And I think part of our being is sharing what we know, to be able to express ourselves in a way that we don't feel silenced and in a way that we feel supported. As First Nation, Inuit, and Métis people, for a lot of the times the school systems haven't been just for us. It's part of our history. We can keep our heads in the sand and pretend it didn't exist, but it did. And it's time for us to move forward and to create that reconciliation, right? That reconciliation that means to make right. And it doesn't mean that it was right before and then it went wrong. It means that it has to be made right because it never was right. And it has to be changed. So we have brilliant minds here. We have professors, we have teachers, we have trustees, we have special honored guests. So there's many brilliant minds in this room. And being in the places that you work, you have that ability to bring forth those changes to those young, brilliant minds that come to you every day. What you do with your knowledge affects what they will know with theirs. So how much you put into getting the best out of them is going to be what we all end up with in the future. So I'm really counting on you, because I'm already getting tired of making classroom visits all over the cities. So we want you guys now to pick up that ball and to not be afraid of creating that reconciliation, right? Of taking those chances and expressing those stories that only Indigenous people have told. We don't want you to appropriate us, but we want you to learn from us so that you can carry on. And that's something that we all need to understand, right? I mean, not everybody is going to get up here and start talking about 7 grandfather teachings and lighting smudges and drumming and doing songs. But we expect you to feel comfortable enough to be able to, when your students ask you in your classroom, who are the First Nation people? Who are the Métis people? To be able to answer them, or to search for resources, to be able to direct them to where to get the best answers from. Because, let's face it, that's what you do with every other thing, right? Every other question in your classroom, you research it, and you find the best answer. So we want you to be confident enough to look for those answers and to be able to speak to those answers. I promised you a good story, and it goes like this. For those of you that heard my fridge story, and just so that you know, I still am in hell, 666 room. I'm still alive, so I'm going to carry on. Back in 1964 to 1968, my grandmother raised myself and my brother, and she made sure that we had backpacks to go to school with. Not like today. We had burlap 50-pound potatoes bags. Those were our backpacks. So we had asked our grandmother, which we called her Cookum. In Cree, that means grandmother. So we would say, Cookum, can you make us a big, wide backpack? And she would say, why? We said, because we got to take some stuff and we need it bigger. So she modified those 50-pound potato bags for us, and we decided to go on an adventure after school because my grandmother had worked 2 jobs. My grandfather had died when I was 4, so she was raising my brother and myself. How many of you are grandparent raised in this room? Raise your hand. A few of you? Grandparents are the best parents because they've been around that circle and they've raised their own children and they've gained knowledge and they have the best reasons and explanations and they give you everything you basically want. So that was a bonus. So they made us, she made us this big backpack, and after school, because she worked 2 jobs, I had an aunt, and for those of you who may or may not know, back in 1964, 65, 66, there was a lot of medical practices that happened to Indigenous people as well that wasn't in the best way. One of my great aunt had been going through menopause, so the doctor decided to send her for shock treatment so that would cure her menopause. Well, she came back and we used to have lots of fun at her expense, unfortunately, but we thought it was great because she would come at lunchtime and make us, mashed potatoes, pork chops, green beans. And then at dinner time, we'd come home and she'd say, dinner? You want dinner? Okay. And she'd go to the fridge and get a head of lettuce, cut it in half, put each on a plate and said, there's your dinner. So we didn't know what to expect, right? So we thought, we're going to go hunting, right? Here's 2 urban kids in the city in 1964 through to 1968, going down to High Park with great big backpacks filled with neighbors' barbecue grills. Because we had decided to go on a raid the night before, because we had known we were going to need some barbecue grills, because we were going hunting. And we would need to cook our food. So we swiped about 8 of them from our neighbors, and we never admitted to this day to some of them. A couple of them we did tell, but most of them we didn't. And so we took them down to High Park, and we took a hammer, a nail, a knife, some sinew. For those of you that don't know what sinew is, it's kind of like cat gut. It's like a strong string that's very like dental floss, really thick dental floss. And the barbecue grills. So we went down to High Park, and we nailed some nails in the trees, and we took the barbecue grills and we tied them to the sinew and we threw them up over the trees and we tied the sinew to the nails on the tree, and nobody knew there was barbecue grills up in the tree because the sinew was the same color as the trees. So we went hunting down in Grenadier Pond. How many of you have been down to Grenadier Pond? A few of you? Back in 1964, the water was clear. You could see the bottom. It's not like today. So we decided we were going goose hunting because we are half Cree, and as we all know, the geese sustained the Cree people for many years. They're a big bird, right? They're almost, like a turkey. So we thought we're going to go hunting geese. And my brother being 2 years older than me, I was 6 and he was 8. And he jumped over the fence first because there was a fence there, grabbed the goose by the neck, swung it around a few times, threw it over the fence to me and said, start plucking it. I had never plucked a goose before in my life. So I was sitting there, and he's like, faster! So I had to pluck these feathers out of this goose, and we cooked it, and we ate, and we brought it home, and there was half of it left, and we put it on the kitchen table, and we went to bed. My grandmother got home about 11 o'clock. I think we were the first latchkey kids, come to think of it, without any keys, because we didn't lock our doors then, but we would have been the latchkey kids. So she came home at 11 o'clock, and right away she called to us in Cree, Ashtam, which means come here. So we got up out of our beds, wandering out into the kitchen, and she said, what is this? And we just stood there tired. We said, Cookum, don't you know? It's a goose. And she said, of course I know it's a goose, but why is it here? We said, well, we were hungry, so we went to the park, and Auntie didn't come by tonight, and we were hungry, and you told us we couldn't use the stove, and we didn't want to eat cold Kraft dinner, and, from the night before, because we couldn't heat it up, and we couldn't boil hot dogs because we couldn't touch the stove. And she's like, okay, enough. Why is the goose here? Because we were hungry. And of course, the first thing we heard was, Children's Aid is going to come and get you. Do not go down to the park anymore hunting geese. So we said, okay, no problem. A couple days went by. Auntie didn't show up again. So we said, let's go to the park. Nobody was there to stop us, so off we went on our bikes with our backpacks, going down to the park, and my brother hopped the fence first of all, because he was a little bit taller than me. I was always this short, just so that you know. I haven't shrunk. I was always this short. So he decided, I can't get a goose, but I can get a couple duck. So he did the same with the ducks, grabbed them, swung them around, threw them over the fence, told me to pluck them, we cooked them, we brought one home, we left it on the table overnight. Grandma comes home, 11 o'clock. What do we hear? Ashtam! We come running out in the kitchen. What? What is this? Cookum, don't you know? It's a duck. She says, I know it's a duck, but why is it here? Auntie didn't come by and we were hungry. Didn't I tell you that Children's Aid is going to come and get you? That was the big fear back then, right? It was kind of like the boogeyman, but Children's Aid was the boogeyman to us. And we said, yeah, you told us, but you said we couldn't get a goose. You didn't say about ducks. She said, well, that's enough of that. I don't want to see geese. I don't want to see ducks. That's enough. Okay, we're sorry. So we decided we can't get any more birds. We went to bed. A couple days later, Auntie didn't show up again. Off to the park we go, on our bikes. This time my brother says, we can't get any birds. What are we going to eat? We said, well, I don't think we can carry a deer home, so forget that one. The buffaloes weren't there yet in the zoo, or the yaks and bison, whatever they're calling them down there now. The capybara weren't there, the escape artists. We would have had them real quick. So my brother decided to make a spear, because we weren't allowed to have a bow and arrow because he had shot out all the lights in the neighborhood with a bow and arrow the year before, so we weren't allowed to make bow and arrows anymore. So he decided he was making a spear. So we went hunting, and what did we go after? If there's any counselors here still, trustees, what's the statute of limitations? We decided to get a beaver. Because we said, wow, we seen them and they're pretty big. That's a lot of food. Cookum will be real happy. We'll cut it up and put it in the freezer. She won't know. So we went down, and of course, my brother was very good at hunting. 8 years old, one of the best hunters I knew. the only one I knew that lived in the city with the vicinity where I lived. And he got a beaver. So he speared a beaver, and he threw it over the fence. And I said, I can't pluck it. To which he was mad. He's like, why? I'm like, because it's not feathers. It feels like fur. So he jumped over the fence and grabbed hold of it and was like, oh, guess we're going to go hungry tonight. So we brought it home and we put it on the kitchen table. How many of you know of those blue arborite tables that used to exist with the chrome legs, right? They used to have a middle section that you could pull apart and put another section into it. Well, we brought the beaver home. We're 6 and 8. We didn't really think about putting something under the beaver. We just put it on the table. Big 25-pound beaver laying in the middle of the table, and went to bed. Well, 11 o'clock, my grandmother comes home, and again, this time it was louder. Ashtam! And so we go out in the kitchen. She says, what is this? Now we're really getting saucy, right? We're like, oh. It still has the fur on. You can't tell it's a beaver, to which we almost would have got it if it would have been our mother. She said, I know it's a beaver. Why is it on the table? And look at it. Look what happened. Look under the table. Look at all the blood that run down through the middle of the table there. Now I got to pull it apart and clean it all. Why is this beaver here? We said, well, we're really hungry. Gookum, can you make us a sandwich? Never mind the sandwich. Why is the beaver here? But Gookum, we're really hungry. Can you make us some pizza? Never mind the pizza. Why is the beaver here? Okay, we didn't know how to take the fur off. So to which she replied, as every grandmother would do, go in and take your pajamas off and just come out in your underwear because I don't want to have to bleach everything while I show you how to skin that beaver. So which we did that. And that night we learned many good lessons. We learned about being honest, because we always told the truth, right? That was one of our teachings. We learned about bringing home enough so that we wouldn't just have to do with one day's worth of food. We learned that you cannot pluck a beaver. It's very important to know. We learned that if your auntie didn't come and make you dinner, do not go hunting in High Park, because your choices will get limited because they keep getting restricted by whatever game you bring home. But we learned that our grandmother had one of the best compassions that there was, because she taught us to do things for ourselves. So we came back to the kitchen and learned how to skin a beaver, and we learned how to season a beaver, and my grandmother put that beaver in the oven, just getting home from work, and put it on low, and put potatoes around it, and put carrots around it. And when we got up for breakfast the next morning, we had the most delicious meat we ever ate before, right? So she taught us that never to waste anything, to always be thankful and grateful for what you have. It may not look like what you should have when you get it, but you can always turn it into something that is good for you. And that's like the message we got today, right? We may not always see what the good is, but if we nurture it, give it time, help it out, care for it, bring it into being, support, encourage, we will end up with brilliant minds in the future. Because everything has value, everything has purpose, everything has meaning. The food which we're going to get tonight has been planted by somebody. That food was grown, it was nurtured, it was watered, it was harvested, it was put onto vehicles and sent to us, and we're the ones that get the benefit out of it, right? But we forget about all those parts in between it coming to us. right? So to be thankful for all those people that had those wonderful jobs, because without them, we wouldn't eat, right? If we didn't have people who planted and harvested and hunted and gathered and prepared, you know, I think half of people in this room would go hungry, because I don't think there's too many hunters here that want to come down to hunting at High Park with me. You guys rather go to Costco hunting or Sobeys. But to be thankful for everything we have, right? Be thankful for the things that come in our path. Be thankful for the people that come in our path. Be thankful for the situations and the day's events that we experience today. Because all we have is today. We can't change yesterday, and we can't be sure of tomorrow. So we can only be thankful and be grateful for everything we have today. We can hope for the future. So always try and give thanks for everything that you're going to receive today. We give thanks for those ancestors that came this morning when we called them to sit here and be with us and to help guide us and give us the right words to speak. And we give thanks to those that have brought this food to us. We give thanks that it will nurture our bodies. Because if we don't nurture our bodies, our minds will not work. We see that when we have students who come to school hungry in the morning that haven't eaten. They're not as alert as those who have eaten and have sustained their requirements for their body. So I'm grateful tonight that we can have this food, we can have the company. We've had entertainment, we've had laughs today, and hopefully we haven't had too many sorrows today. Hopefully we haven't heard of disappointments, of anything that we would find would not be giving us that joyous pleasure that we're going to have whenever we eat whatever we're going to eat. I'm waiting to see it. We have made a spirit plate for those ancestors so that we can feed them. We can feed those that are yet to come and offer them this food in a good way and give thanks to them for being here each and every day that we've been here so far. So I hope you like my little hunting story from High Park. I won't tell you what else we've hunted because that's for another day. That's for another meeting. So until we meet again, bon appétit, have a good dinner, and we will see you again. Hi, hi.